becoming a pop star is the dream. When you've spent years playing small rooms, working side jobs, and performing for ones of people, superstardom starts to look like salvation. Money, recognition, sold out arenas, the feeling that everything you've worked so hard for has finally paid off. But the longer I watch the music industry, I think pop stardom is kind of a trap that is presented as a reward. Because becoming successful and staying successful are not the same job. One rewards experimentation and artistic integrity, the other rewards repetition. And ironically, some of the most exciting work happens when no one is paying attention. Not because the struggle is romantic, it's not. Obscurity comes with a sort of freedom, something that success eventually removes, which is the space to be weird, the space to do things that are unhinged. Most importantly, you can evolve without asking for permission. And when an artist finally begins to break through, the pressure is to recreate the circumstances that made something work in the first place, which is nearly impossible to do. And this is how artists end up trapped inside their own success. The bigger the moment, the harder it is for people to accept any deviation from it. What started as artistic identity has now become brand maintenance. And streaming didn't invent this pressure, but it's definitely accelerated it. That's how we've ended up with 3 albums in 1 year from one artist. And the focus is less about being good and more about being visible. At a certain level of success, especially at the upper echelon, an artist operating with some kind of cult-like following, it's no longer a space of challenge. It becomes a space of reinforcement. You're being stabilized by audience devotion, and that trickles down to the rest of the industry, diluting the creativity that made something interesting, weird, a cultural revelation. Which is why the artists who happen to be the most interesting are the ones who never oriented their careers around being super famous or super successful. Take Charli XCX. For years, she was making music that was kind of underground, following her own instincts, not really industry trends, and eventually the culture caught up to her. But because she built this whole ecosystem where she was just making music that felt right to her and following her own artistic integrity, now that she's had Brat Summer everywhere, she doesn't feel the need to recreate that. She doesn't feel confined to the superstardom because she knows what it is like to just grapple and create things on her own accord. She has set up this freedom for herself to just continue making art. She's known flopping, and to her, flopping is freedom. Not every project has to be a universal moment. Pop stardom is often seen as the finish line, but honestly, it's just a trade. You gain scale, you gain visibility, you gain money, but you also become constricted by the precedent you've set before. The hardest part of success is not reaching it. It's staying interesting once it comes.